Welcome back to the Shine Within podcast. Kelly Bonanno is a life and wellness coach, matchmaker, speaker, and mother who has dedicated over 10 years to wellness education. She guides individuals towards becoming their optimal selves, both internally and externally, boosts their dating confidence, and assists them in discovering love. Whether individuals feel lost within their marriage, anxious about their future, or apprehensive about finding the right partner, Kelly empowers them to achieve their aspirations and ensures their upcoming chapter is their most fulfilling yet. Additionally, Kelly offers unique wellness programs and workshops aimed at helping business owners minimize employee sick days and burnout while enhancing productivity, focus, and team morale. Wow. Thank you so much, Kelly, for being on my show today. It's an honor.
Thank you for having me. It's a
Of
pleasure to be here.
course. Now, can you just share your journey into becoming a life and wellness coach and how your personal experiences have shaped your approach?
Oh, wow. It's nothing's linear, right? It's like,
Totally.
yeah. Well, I've always been health minded, wellness minded. I was diving into that a long time ago. Back before I had kids, my former career was in network television. So I worked at CBS television network here in Los Angeles.
Wow.
And during that I was really happy it was a great career. It was where I wanted to be. Very, very into self-improvement and growth and doing yoga and becoming the best version of myself at that stage in life, and got married, and then we had kids, and it was a really demanding job and a long commute. So it was like I'd never see my kid. If I could have done something like what I'm doing now, where I could have, more of a balance or work part-time and then be a mom most of the time, that would have been great. But I had to make the hard decision to either get a nanny and barely see my kid, or be a stay-at-home mom for at least a few years and see what happens. So that's what I did. And that was a tough decision. That was a really tough transition. Lots of, it was like culture shock just to be out in the world making, amongst people and adults and making all these big decisions in my job, and then to just being with a newborn. And so that was interesting. But I never wanted to stop working. So I started writing for magazines, websites, and then I started my own blog. And I really started focusing more on wellness and health and eco-friendly living, clean beauty. And I really kind of dove into that aspect of health and what it does to your whole entire being, from the way you look to internally. I mean, it really, lots of environmental toxins are, linked. Now it's much more mainstream. We know there's a lot of, clean at Sephora. There's a lot of, BPA free, paraben free. But when I was first getting into this, it was I would tell people, you know what, there's toxins in plastic. You really shouldn't microwave plastic. And they'd look at me like I had three heads. Now people know these are these things. But I really got into this more when I was pregnant with my second son, who's turning 18 in a few months. So, and then it just kind of evolved, and I started teaching people and really learning more about it, got involved with some clean brands, and just teaching people how to reduce toxic load. But then I wanted to take a more holistic approach and teach people what I did to stay healthy and fit, and so also the nutrition component. Then as I got certification and learned more, it was like, okay, we've got how to sleep better, the energy component, how to have more energy and less stress. That stress is, really plays a part on every single part of our health. And so then health coaching is life coaching. I mean, yes, I can help people lose weight and balance their macros and all these things, but it's really life coaching. It's so much more my mindset and how we view ourselves and our lives and our goals and all of these things. So it really morphed more into life coaching. I still help people with wellness. Some people, especially people getting out there dating, or a lot of my clients have been divorced. They feel like, okay, I want to get into better shape. I want to lose weight. I want to really look my best and to get out there on the dating scene, which, dating is marketing. You really do have to be your best out there. It is competitive. It's a little bit rough out there these days, but it can be fun if it's done right. So that sort of just kind of came together. And then I, of course, we had two children, and then I ended up getting divorced. So I've been through that whole scene. I dated before the apps. I dated, and then I got divorced. I was like, the apps, what is going on? And of course met people organically. And so I've done it all. And that's what I love helping people do, is get that confidence to get out there dating, but really doing it right because if it's not done right, it feels horrible and it's hard and it's depressing. you know. So another thing I do is matchmaking, which I love. You can definitely find love on the apps and organically, but matchmaking is that is really tailored and focused to you. And I have clients, but we also have a free database that people can just sign up for and get matched with our clients. So it's the best of both worlds.
That is awesome. So who needs Match.com when they have you?
That's
Right?
right.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was just telling my husband, well, so a little history about myself. I married before and divorced and had to go see a mentor, she was slash coach who helped me discover who I am as a spiritual being and helped me with my internal and external beauty, I should say, and really build that confidence within me. So I thank you so much for the work that you do because it's definitely needed. But I was going to say, going back to, I was talking to my husband recently, because I'm remarried now, and I was like, I never use Matchmaker or I never use, any of those online dating apps or anything because I guess I was married during that time. But I remember my sister would go ahead and use them and then she would meet some guys here and there, but nothing really serious. And funny thing is that when she was 18, she had a boyfriend. And I remember him as I was like 8 years old and he's so sweet. I mean, after they broke up, I mean, obviously years has gone by because she's like 50 something years old. She just recently, maybe within the last 4 years, got reconnected with him. And then now they're living together and then they seem happy anyway. But yeah, it's like, oh, wow, that's crazy that that had happened. So, but
That's
anyway,
so cute.
yeah, I was going to go ahead and ask you, and as a coach who focuses on the be beautiful inside and outside, how do you approach helping individuals become their best selves?
Well, it's a several different pillars that I work with, and really the first thing starts with self love and working on yourself, and because self love is a tough one, and self worth, and there's lots of facets we can have, self worth and self love in certain areas of our life. Maybe we're great with career, but not other things. But we all have insecurities, and that doesn't mean we are insecure. We're human. If you don't have any insecurities, you're a robot and you're not a human being. And when you get into a relationship, a lot of stuff can come up that you don't, it's easy to sail along on your own and not have anybody else to deal with. But when you're in a relationship, it can bring things up. So before we embark on that dating, really getting solid with ourselves, especially depending on where you're coming from with the divorce or a toxic relationship, or not even toxic, but just, not so much luck, is really getting solid with yourself. And then it kind of depends on where people need help. Some people just really need the basics, like I was recently a client, she wanted to maybe focus on one person at a time. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't work in today's world. I mean, yes, once we're exclusive, but you've got to, I used to have this saying even back before when I was dating, you got to keep all the burners going because in this app disposable dating world, people swipe left, they swipe right, and they ghost, and they like, you can think you're going to meet that you met this great person online and then you're never even going to meet them, or you'll go out on a date and they'll ghost you. I mean, there are the harsh realities of life, so you've got to keep things going and and no one deserves your exclusivity until they earn it, until you're ready to do it. So you really have to go out there and also have fun with it, the right perspective, and you're just having fun, you're meeting people and that's when we have the right attitude, dating can be fun and absolutely successful as well. So, and then of course, like the health aspect, some people do want to lose some weight or just, yeah, kind of get their own little we could do an inner makeover and an outer makeover because, you know, when you look better, you feel better. When you feel better, you look better. It's all, and it's not to be superficial, but it's just, it all goes together. And it's not about being a size zero, being the most beautiful thing, is being your best self. So you can go out into the world confident and loving and style. And, there's just all kinds of ways to make yourself proud of yourself. And so, because when the way you see people is the way, I mean, the way you see yourself is the way people will see you.
Yes, completely. Because, you can have someone who's not so attractive but hold themselves very confidently, that makes them 10 times more attractive than if they were just to be like
Exactly.
kind of like slumped over and sad all the time.
Right,
But
right.
yeah, and it's so true. And then just thinking about like, people dating, and then they'll on their profiles they'll have like a picture from like 10 years ago.
Oh,
And it's like, or when they were like that they're small, skinniest or what, or buffest or whatever. And it's just like, come on, just be yourselves, be your authentic self. And you
right,
do have to be
right.
comfortable in your own skin and then build that confidence so you can get out into the dating world. Because I know for
Exactly.
myself, having an alcoholic background for myself and then becoming sober, I didn't want to date anybody because I was terrified because everyone who were going out always wanted to drink. Like, oh, let's go grab a drink. Let's go over here to
Mhm.
this bar. Let's go to this club. Everything involved alcohol. So for me, it was like, okay, no, no, no. I had to look elsewhere. Where do people go and not drink?
Yeah.
Some family functions, some places, some trips that you take, so you never know. So so that was one of my biggest challenges. What are some of the most common challenges your clients actually face in the dating world, and how do you help them overcome these over obstacles?
There are definitely several challenges. That is for sure. And, it does start with the profile. If you're going to be on the apps, your profile has to reflect who you are because you're not fooling anyone. I mean, if it's an older picture, if it's not the size you are now, they're going to meet you eventually. I just don't understand how people, think they're fooling. So you don't want to do that. But yes, you also want to put your best self out there. So pictures are so important. I cannot believe some of the pictures I see, what you're wearing, not to be rude or anything, but and the bios, like it's marketing. You are marketing yourself. And that's the fact of life. You're marketing yourself, you're putting yourself out there. And like I said, it's very competitive. People can, it's like shopping for men, shopping for women. And so it's a little better. It's a lot better actually with the matchmaker because we really vet people and it's not quite so disposable. But I tell my clients, hire me, but also stay on the apps because you never know when or how you're going to meet someone. So that's a big challenge, and that's why I do help clients with their profile big time, whether they're my matchmaking clients or not. And like I offer that free 30-minute session. Let's get your profile on point and revamp it. And because that is your calling card. If you're not getting enough attention or getting enough attention from the people that you want attention from, it starts with your profile. And then the challenge, of course, is getting to the first date. That's that, I say get off the app, text and meet. Maybe get on the phone because this is a stranger. So I do say, but don't waste time texting because a lot of people are on there for the wrong reasons and you don't want a pen pal. So get off the app, get on the phone, see how you vibe on the phone and make a date, meet. And I do recommend a shorter date because, dinner is a commitment and you can always turn it into dinner if you're having a great time.
Yeah.
But, you want to give this person a chance, but you don't want to be stuck also with someone you're not interested in. And also the other challenge people have is just wanting that spark, that chemistry, that wow. And yes, you want to have an attraction, but chemistry can grow. And so if there's, a lot of things are in place and you like this person and there's enough of a spark, there has to be a spark. I'm not saying, you got to be, you don't want to be completely, unattracted, but give a person a chance because also some people they're, they're nervous on a first date. And so things can grow. You get to know a person and then the attraction grows. And some of our best success stories are that kind of thing. Not that there's nothing wrong with, being extra excited about person right away. That can also grow into love, but also be mindful and don't let that guide and put your blinders on to some of maybe their red flags they might have or personality things that aren't going to jive with you. But I love people that are open-minded, and no one's going to be perfect. So I think another big challenge people have is they get in their own way. That is really where our worst enemies. And being open-minded and not judging for every little thing. And women have that thing like the ick factor. Oh, I don't like this socks, or he did this, or one thing. It's like no one is going to have every single person is going to have a few things that you would want to change. It's, looking for the person that, okay, those things you can live with and deal with, and giving people a chance because everyone's human and no one's perfect. Even us, even you. You know what I mean? The
Oh
person
yeah.
dating.
I am far from perfect. Oh my
I don't mean
goodness.
you. I mean like the person dating. Like it's like,
Oh yeah.
you're out there.
Me,
None of
but
us are
me too.
perfect.
Oh my goodness, I make mistakes all the time. I was going to share a story with you. So recently, last Sunday, my mom and my stepdad celebrated their silver anniversary, their 25 year anniversary of being married, and we all had a chance to go to where they had their first date. It's a beautiful place out in the mountains, only maybe 45 minutes from San Jose here in California. And it's called the Mountain House, and it's also a Michelin chef starred restaurant. So the food is amazing. And she invited a
Okay.
bunch of family. But the thing I had in my mind is like, man, my mom must have really trusted this man so much on her first date because literally it was dark. It was windy. It was it was like scary out there. It's like,
Wow.
but the
And you really
restaurant was
wined her and dined her on a first date, Michelin star.
I
Wow.
know I was like impressed, but I was like, what was my mom thinking? Probably driving up into the woods, like this by herself, trying to meet this guy there. It's crazy. So a lot of trust has to be. So maybe they spoke on the phone a lot of times, not email, not text, but on the phone and probably talked a lot. And so maybe that's what built her trust into going on to this first date up in the mountains, in the dark, in the woods.
Yeah,
Scary,
that's an
but
interesting place for a first date.
right. And I was going to also ask you, what kind of advice would you actually give someone who is just just nervous about finding love or just fearful about their future relationships, especially because they've had like divorce or they've been burned in the past and in past relationships?
Yeah, that's a tough one. And our experiences do color, you know, our world. But here's the thing, every relationship is a lesson. So whether you had bad relationships, a tough divorce, whatever it might be, those, I don't look at divorce as a failure. It was a relationship that did not last, but you were with that person for a reason and a season, and really to take the lessons from that, things that you contributed, things that you learned, then you don't take it into your next relationships. And just because something happened in the past does not inform the future, and now that makes you more ready for the right person. Every relationship, every experience shows you what you want more of. Like, okay, you know what? I realize that's not right for me. Now, and now you can be a little more informed of what you're really looking for. And as far as confidence, again, it's just loving yourself, working on yourself, putting your best self out there. And we're all a work in progress. It's not perfection. And like I said, once you get in a relationship, things will come up that you're just like, oh, I didn't think that would bother me. And now I'm having this insecurity about it, or what have you. And we just have to give ourselves grace. And as long as, you're, you've got your best intentions, and really thinking about it, I think this is really important, your mindset on it, because we get what we put out. And generally whatever we think is going to happen will. So if you go out dating with the mindset of guys are players, they just want young women are crazy, and they don't want to make it men are a priority, and they're this, that, and the other, that's what you're going to find. But if you go out there thinking, you know what, there are great people out there and I can have fun, and that special person that's going to adore me and cherish me, he or she is wondering where I am. And and I'm not saying it's not, it can be depressing and defeating to go on date after date, but and just have fun with it and look at it as, don't look at every date as, oh my gosh, this is the one. Just, this is the nice person I'm meeting. And at the very least, maybe I'll get a friend. And you know what? Maybe he'll have a brother, or she'll have a cousin, or we'll learn something else about each other that we can do business with. It's something you never know. Just getting out there and just meeting fun people. And of course, if things progress and you meet the love of your life, that's great.
Yeah, that's everybody's dream. First date, there's that spark and everything is like there's so much chemistry and then boom, you're married and then live happily ever after. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly.
Even
And
the
that's
good
what the
marriages
movies
always
tell us, but it's
right.
reality is a different thing. And the other thing is not to be afraid of conflict. Conflict really shows us how we have like deal with conflict is really telling on how we can get along in our relationship. Relationships that have absolutely no conflict are really not real relationships. Any, if there's no, like, if everything's just fine and nothing goes, anybody can be happy. But when you have certain things and you're working on things together, how you deal with them and resolve them that's, where the rubber meets the road.
Yes, instead of throwing things at each other, just go ahead and take a walk and
Yeah,
take a
yeah.
deep breath and then come back whenever you're ready to communicate properly.
Right. And hear people. People just want to be heard. They want to be heard and understood. And even if you don't agree, just people just want to be heard and seen.
Yes, and validated,
Yes. And validated. Absolutely.
yeah, it's like
Huge.
I think like when I'm trying to be vulnerable and share how I feel, and then when my husband listens to me, and then he says, "Oh, I can see your point. I understand how where you're coming from." It makes me feel so much happier. Like, "Oh, he cares. He listened," rather than, whatever. Why are you feeling like this? Well, you shouldn't be feeling
Yes.
like that. It's like, why are you feeling that? I'm a human
Yeah.
being,
Or not saying anything. Then you're like, what is he thinking?
Right.
I know that
Exactly.
active listening and it really showing the empathy. And I know that is huge. That is something that all men could take a lesson from your husband, that's for sure. And women. But
Yeah, because sometimes even women just with their when the men are becoming more emotional and coming to them saying, "Hey, I'm sad about this." Sometimes the women are really mean. It can be brutal
yes.
too. It's not just the men. Women can be brutal too.
Yeah. Yeah. I believe me, guys have it hard too. Women can be awful. I've heard some horrible, horrible stories. We all can
Yeah.
do better.
I was one of them in my past. That's why I not anymore. I mean, that's where the self-love and the change and transformation
Yeah.
comes because, you can be a certain way and if you really want to change, it can happen. And now I am not that anymore. I'm just completely different. And yeah, so self-care is important.
Yeah.
And in your own experience, how important is self-care and wellness in building and maintaining healthy relationships?
Yeah, self-care is so important. And it's been this kind of buzzword, but it is. And I'm living proof because I went years without, didn't even think about self-care. When my kids were younger and it was just go, go, go. And that contributed to the erosion of my marriage because I didn't take care of myself. I didn't make sure my needs were getting met. I didn't express that. I didn't, and so I kind of unraveled and didn't then I couldn't be as loving as a wife as I could have been because I wasn't taking care of myself as well. I mean, I was taking care of myself as far as healthy. I never let myself go, but I was not I was not caring for myself and taking the time and those little things that add up and those breaks in the day. I was just burning the candle at both ends and just always, and this is very common for women, just doing for everyone else always. And you really can't because there will come a time that it just won't keep going. And you can't cultivate and nurture your relationships if you're not taking care of yourself. The most important relationship you're going to have is with yourself. And so you've got to take time for yourself and have that balance and those boundaries.
Yes, because when mom's happy in the household, everyone is
Yeah.
happy in the household. So it is
Yeah.
important for us
And
to
when she's not,
take that
it's not
time.
good. Yeah, it's
Right.
true.
Now, as a
Yeah.
mother yourself, how do you balance your own personal life with family responsibility, professional life, I should say, with family responsibilities? Any tips for like working parents?
Having strict boundaries and set time blocking is really important and following through with it. So this is the time to work. This is my time with my kids. This is time with my significant other. This time with my girlfriends. That's just in sticking to it like it's an assign, I mean, an appointment. Like you're going to make an appointment to go to the dentist, you got to make an appointment, and then also time for yourself. So those strict boundaries, I do work on that with a lot of my clients because otherwise they feel like they come unglued and they feel overwhelmed and it's harder when your kids are younger, certainly. I mean, like my kids are 17 and 21. They don't want to have a lot to do with me. So I've got a little more time to work on my business now. It's a lot easier. But when they're little and you're their world and you do everything for them. It is harder. That's for sure.
Right.
But and that's also calling for help, and which I was so bad about. I'm still not that great about it, but it's so important.
Yes, help is important. And I remember I would never ask for help and then just be so sad and like
Yeah.
overwhelmed. But I noticed that as I ask for help with whatever it is, whether it's a family member, a friend, anything, anybody, I just like, oh, now I can relax a little bit more because someone's
Yes.
helping me out on this project or whatever.
Yeah.
I was deadline on something. It's always nice
Yeah.
to have help. And you also specialize in helping businesses with wellness programs. What impact have you actually seen in these programs?
Oh, this is really exciting. I love this. I do like wellness. I have several different wellness workshops on various, topics from sleep to stress to workplace balance and, boundaries and of course nutrition and energy and all the good things, self-care, stress management. So this, I love the feedback I get from my corporate clients. Their employees really, really do appreciate it. And it's help, it's wellness that they wouldn't be getting otherwise. So that's what I love. People that normally wouldn't have any kind of access to this kind of help have access to it from these employers. And it makes such a difference. And it's just seeing the light bulbs go off, especially when I do the workshops. And then when we do the group coaching and they've got, they come with a significant thing and we work on things and they're like, oh, wow, this really helps. And coaching helps, it can help. And because it's tough. I mean, these are employees typically working full time, so they do have that overwhelm and workplace balance, conundrum, and so they really do need that help.
Yeah, and then in your coaching, can you actually share a success story where you help someone regain their sense of self and either within a marriage or while, preparing for a new relationship?
Oh, sure. I have several. One that comes to mind is she was feeling very kind of out of control. Like she really wanted to focus on meeting somebody. She was on the other side of divorce, but also very busy trying to work on her business, um, pretty demanding business and her career, but also, friendships and her kids were a little bit older, but still, even when your kids are adults, they still need you and you still need to spend time with them. So we really mapped out a plan for her to have that workplace balance and making dating a priority. Because here's the thing, a lot of people, I don't have time to date, but if you don't have time to date, then you don't have time for a relationship because dating is going to lead to a relationship. And if you get in a relationship and don't make time for that person, that relationship's not going to last. So you really have to get that piece in place. And it was just like a nice, she just felt so much more calm because we mapped it out. So it wasn't like, well, I'm doing this, but I should be doing that. That that fight between it's like, no, this is my time with my kids. This is my time for business. This is my time for eventually she did find love. And another one that comes to mind, just strictly more for dating and business. He really wanted a better job and he really wanted love. He wants to get, he's in his 30s, wants to get married, and he did not have much experience. And he really didn't was not sure about the type of women he really wanted. So I was like, let's test it. Let's just go out with a bunch of different types. And he was nervous and so now he found someone and they're serious and he got another better job and he's happy about that. And it's like, it's just so great. It's so, having that coach in your corner to kind of guide you and give you that support and the ideas and a different perspective, it really can make such a huge difference.
It does. Yes, all of my mentors and coaches have created a big impact in my life. I'd say more so than my therapist back in the day. And I've gone through
Yeah.
outpatient programs, rehab, and so many different programs for my alcoholism, and then nothing worked. It wasn't until I really then sought out the mentor that I was mentioning and then really focusing on reframing my mind. Like, why am I doing this to myself? Why am I destroying myself, my life? And I mean, it stems back, of course, to my childhood, like most most cases.
Oh
But
yeah.
then, yeah, but the thing is like, okay, I'm here now, and this is where I want to be. And I think that's the difference between coaches and therapists is that therapists will go back to your past and say, okay, this is what you're okay with, and let's make you okay with whatever happened to you in your past. But I think as rather than with coaches, they're more like, hey, where do you want to go? I'm right here next to you. Let's go.
Yes, exactly. Absolutely.
Right. Now, for our listeners who are just so inspired by you, where can they go ahead and find your website or follow you on social media?
I'm Kelly Bonanno, pretty much everywhere on Instagram at Kelly Bonanno. My website is kellybonanno.com. And Kelly, I know it's a tricky last name to spell. So Kelly is just Kelly, and then Bonanno's Bonanno. The two N's are at the end. It's a very easy one to misspell and mispronounce.
It's a very nice last name, though.
Thank you.
It's like,
You're
oh,
polite.
banana's
Kelly Bonanno.
cool. Yeah, I
Yeah.
like that. And then finally, for those listeners who might be actually struggling with confidence in dating or wellness, what first step would you go ahead and recommend they take on their journey to improvement?
Oh boy, the first step is really focusing on self-love and making that a priority and self-worth and and looking the journaling about it, looking in the mirror, seeing what where you're at and what maybe you did to contribute things in the past and relationships or the relationship you're in now and or where your blocks. I mean, just to what's blocking you from finding love. And a lot of times it goes back to that self-love. And sometimes we need help with that.
Right. Yes, I agree 100%. Any last thoughts or words you'd like to share?
Well, I'm rooting for everybody out there, whether they're trying to find love or is trying to keep their good relationship going. It's we're all looking for love, right? I mean, and we all deserve love. And the thing is, really, I want everybody to realize no matter where you are in that self-love journey, you are worthy. You are absolutely worthy. And we're all a work in progress. It is not perfection, it's progress. I always say progress, not perfection. And sometimes it's two steps forward, one step back. But as long as you're, doing the work and always just trying to become the better version of you, that's really all anybody can ask.
Yes, I love that. Well, thank you so much, Kelly, for being on my show today.
Thank you so much for having me. This is fun chatting with you.
Thank you.